book lovers, it is G-Swizz here. Yeah, I'm gonna break a lot of hearts today. Alright, this is the first book unhaul I've done since the very first week I started living at my family home again. And the biggest reason why I have to do it is because eventually Kimilo and I are gonna move out after everything settles down and after work starts to pick up for both of us. And we need to make sure that we can move out in a way that we have less of a burden to carry, but also my mom wants our shed cleared. I've been keeping a bunch of these books in the shed for a while because living with someone in the room that you grew up with and also had more space in, you have to dedicate space to the other person. So that's what I had to do. Therefore, I had to store books in the shed for a very long time, and there's still some books in the shed, I'm not gonna lie. Eventually, I might unhaul even more. I might even be crueler to my books one day, and I might just give those ones away too. But right now, I've just got to focus on these ones that I just thought to myself, look, I'm pretty doubtful about this. I'm probably never gonna reread this. Unfortunately, there are some books in this unhaul that I actually do like and I would like to keep. I think to myself, I can either revisit them listening to the audiobook, or I own an audiobook copy, or they're just not as important to me as the books that I have on my shelf. This being said, there are gonna be some controversial ones on here, but these are my opinions and this is my bookshelf, so I can do whatever I want with them, really. This being said, am I gonna be selling some of these? Only a few of these. The ones that I know that are kind of sellable because I've got to get rid of these books ASAP, but these will only be sold to Australians, and I'll probably be doing this on the Facebook Marketplace with the Love Oz YA selling group. So without further ado, let's get started with the unhaul. So some of you guys may have noticed this trilogy right here. Don't get me wrong, I want Lara Jean to succeed, and I don't hate Lara Jean, and I do like the To All the Boys I Loved Before movie. I did enjoy the book while I read it. It's just contemporaries are never usually the things that I reach for. In fact, I don't even find these comfort reads, to be honest. Like, enjoyed how stressful they were at some times, but they're not really comfort reads for me. And I know that these are comfort reads for some other people, and I know that at this time a lot of other people would want these paperbacks more than I do. At the moment, I'm not like the greatest fan of the series. This being said, it's really hard for me to get rid of the series because I did enjoy the books while I read them. Actually, I didn't actually continue on with the series. This being said, if I do want to continue on, I will listen to the audiobooks. I just need to save space on my shelf. Also, I don't really reach for contemporary that often, so I'm going to try to minimize my contemporary shelves because I could easily listen to them on audiobooks and be done with them. Only a few are an exception to this rule. Therefore, I'm saying goodbye to these books. Another trilogy I'm going to be getting rid of is the Area of X by Jeff Vandermeer. Now, first of all, these covers are beautiful. This being said, the series did not intrigue me while I was reading it, and it really just did bore me. I really just wanted a good sci-fi trilogy. I didn't really get that. Like, I understand why people enjoy these books, and I might try out some other books by Jeff Vandermeer. I went out of my way to collect these books, and I didn't really enjoy what I read of them, and so that's why I'm gonna be getting rid of them, because I don't know if I want to spend my time reading them. If I want to read them in the future, I'll just listen to the audiobook once again. This one's also a pretty weird one for me. A Guardians of the Galaxy novel called Castaways by David MacDonald. I haven't heard great things about this, and also I like the Guardians comics anyway, so I'll read the Guardians comics. But yeah, when someone else tries to make new canon for the Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean, I'm also talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy movie here because, like, I clearly do not like the second movie. I understand if anybody likes them, I get it, but I'm a comic book purist when it comes to the Guardians of the Galaxy. I just don't want people tampering with the canon again. Personal opinion, I don't see myself picking it up. And it's also kind of like a children's story of the Guardians of the Galaxy anyway, so I don't know if it adds too much to the canon. It's more like just for pure entertainment value with the team. When it comes to like comic book story books, sometimes they cater to a child or a young adult audience, and sometimes they contribute to the canon, and sometimes they take away from the canon, and sometimes they just go in their own direction. So I'm a bit hesitant about it, really. I think I used to be really excited about them. I'm not necessarily too excited about them anymore. Remind Me How This Ends by Gabrielle Tozer. I did read this story and I did enjoy it, but I just liked it. I didn't love it, and it wasn't memorable to me. That being said, Gabrielle Tozer is an amazing person, an amazing writer as well. I'm honestly happy for her that she was able to publish this book and I was able to purchase it. Australian author, do love to support them. Unfortunately, I don't really have that much shelf space to contribute to contemporaries, but once again, if I want to read it, probably I will borrow it it from the library. Another Marvel book that I have to mention here is a Marvel book that I've already read, but I actually also own on audiobook. And so if I want to reread it and revisit it, it's actually a very good book because it has a good essential backstory that was taken out of the movies. But I am going to unhaul it because I don't have space to give it. And that, my friends, is Thanos Titan Consumed by Barry Liger. I loved this book. Like, this book was really good. It did contribute to the story of Infinity War because it had Thanos' backstory and you were able to side with him kind of as a villain but also resent him even more. Some people find it easy to see his motivations in Infinity War and in Endgame, but if you don't, I do recommend this book. This being said, I'm clearing it out due to shelf space, but I do own this audiobook, so I will listen to it again in the future maybe. The next two books I got to unhaul are just two books that I purchased from the library that I don't really know anything about. I just purchased them because I wanted to break away from YA. I purchased these both for like $1, I think. The first Bad Man, which is a novel by Miranda July. I always just saw this in Dimmicks and I was just like, oh my god, that book is a book with text but with not a cover. I was thinking to myself, okay, I'll just grab it because it's literary. I'm not interested in reading it. And then I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. I'm not a thriller person. If I do want to read thrillers, I'll probably borrow them or I'll listen to them on audiobook because I don't really care. But if I feel like having something that will boost my adrenaline, then yeah, I'll listen to this on audiobook. But I'm not dedicating shelf space to it. I bought this next book purely on aesthetics. Note to self by Connor Franta. I have watched things from him and I tried to get into his content. Don't get me wrong, I think Connor Franta is a great person. The problem is I just never really got into his content. And then I saw that he wrote a book, and I know how I feel about YouTuber books. It really depends on what they're doing it for, but at the very same time it was so beautiful, so I had to grab it. Do I have any interest in reading it? Not really. These books I've been going back and forth about for a very long time, and I think I just finally need to make a decision to get rid of them because I have to accept defeat. I'm probably not going to continue on with the series. This book right here, Carvel, was an enjoyable book. And then I also have Legendary. I don't know if I want to reread Carvel. I don't know if I want to get into Legendary. And the reason why I'm hesitant about Legendary is because I think it follows Donatella, who annoyed me so much in Carvel. Like, I preferred Scarlet, and people find it the total opposite. People find that Scarlet's the more annoying character because she's like the one that, I don't know, got her shoes on her feet. I mean, her brain's working, you know, and then Donatella's just doing whatever she wants to and free-flowing and stuff. It just annoyed me. And I think that people do like Donatella and they do like Legend and stuff, but like, I don't want to really buy into the story, to be honest, because like, I just hated Donatella. Personal opinion. Then I heard that in the final book, there's a last-minute love triangle introduced. I'm like, really? I bought Legendary for nothing, and I was just about to buy Finale, which also has a really ugly cover, by the way. I almost bought that book for nothing. Really? And also, my friend who got an arc of Legendary, which was a personalized arc, by the way, because the Legendary arcs were personalized. And I was like hoping Hachette Australia would see me and personalize an arc for me. But no, that didn't happen. That happened for my friend, and they hated Legendary. Like, people have mixed opinions about the Carvel series. I personally love this first cover. I'm actually mostly really sad to get rid of the series because I love this cover so much. But when I really think about it, am I going to enjoy the rest of the series? I really don't think so. If Carvel was just okay to me, and if I don't like Donatella, who we are gonna be following for the rest of the books, like, no. Another book in this book on haul is gonna be shown later on because it's at the bottom of the stack here, but I'll just address it right now. The rest of Rainbow Rowell's books I am going to be unhauling. Yes, I think a lot of you guys know the reason why. Rainbow has not taken accountability for Eleanor and Park. Also, I never really loved Rainbow's books to begin with. So like, Fangirl, for me, I held on to this mostly because everybody in the booktube community was talking about Fangirl in a sense that it just relates to them so much. For anybody who's ever been a fanfiction writer or anybody who's ever been such a fan of something, of course, Fangirl was everybody else's book. But I found this one to be okay. Like, it wasn't great. It's not amazing. But I held on to it for so long because first of all, the cover is beautiful and it's illustrated by Noelle Stevenson. But second of all, everyone was talking about it. I felt like I just had to keep it on my shelf for like a prompt for a tag or something like that. But yeah, no, I don't really have a sentimental attachment to Fangirl. And then with Almost Midnight, I never actually read, but it had some short stories that were in like My True Love Gave to Me. I was like, yeah, cool, I want to buy it. And also, look how beautiful it is. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. But I paid $20 to support an author that has not really taken any accountability. I don't absolutely love their work, so because I don't really love their work, and also I don't really love what they're doing, which is brushing past their criticisms, why should I keep supporting them, you know? The next two contemporaries I'm going to be mentioning are Juniper Lemon's Happiness Index by Julie Israel, and then David Arnold's The Strange Fascinations of Noah Hypnotic. I was sent this by a publisher, and I haven't read this one. I just picked this one up because it was a book 2-for-1 pick, I think. Well, you know, goodbye to that. With this book, I wanted to read it because everyone else was reading it at the time. I'm pretty sure it's a good book, and there's no shade to the author whatsoever when it comes to this book, but once again, I'm not really a contemporary lover, and if I want to read contemporary, I'll probably just listen to it on audiobook or borrow it from the library later. Now with this book, I read it and I really did enjoy it. The thing is, I don't see myself keeping it because I did read it, I did enjoy it, and I might reread it in the future, but once again, probably might get it from the library or listen to it on audiobook. Alright, the next book I gotta mention is Zero Repeat Forever by G.S. Brendergast. Now this book, I did quite enjoy. I think the second book came out after being like cancelled for a very long time. I was, to be honest, I literally don't remember almost anything about this book. This being said, it was an enjoyable read while I had it, but I don't think I'm gonna continue on with the series. Next book I'm getting rid of is Macbeth. I already have a copy of this. This book I'm getting rid of is another controversial one, and it's Sadie by Courtney Summers. I did read it, I think, when I was going through my massive reading slump of 2019. It was okay. I enjoyed the audiobook, but like, it's not as great as like what everyone else says it is. I'm just saying. Happy that they enjoyed it. Like, thrillers aren't really my thing. So, okay, bye. Thousand Floor Trilogy by Catherine Mcgee, which consists of The Thousand Floor, The Dazzling Heights, and The Towering Sky. I read The Thousand Floor, wasn't interested in it at all. Probably one of the most disappointing reads I've read this year. I had high expectations for it. If I had probably read this a few years ago, like, I might have enjoyed it, but it just wasn't really that great. I'm getting rid of this trilogy. I just don't care. Another contemporary book, Summer Days and Summer Nights. Now, first of all, contemporary, once again, not really something that I go to, and then second of all, short stories aren't really my thing either. But I was given this by a friend. Now I'm going to give it to someone else. And this book was sent to me by a publisher, and that is The Sight of You by Holly Miller. I think it's a contemporary as well, and there are some contemporaries that I will read, but this one doesn't really intrigue me, to be honest. Armada by Ernest Cline. I did enjoy this book when I read it, but I'm not going to be rereading it. I love how beautiful this cover is. It was a good read while it lasted, but I have no sentimental attachment to it anymore, so I'm gonna get rid of it. Unearthed by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. This is the beautiful shiny first edition. I do love how shiny it is, but I've got to get rid of it. Every single time I think about Unearthed, I really just want to erase it from my mind. I talked about this in my most recent Unpopular Opinions book tag. I will link that up in the iCards. I kind of have another controversial opinion, not because I hate the book, it's just I hate the cover so much. You know what? I might just read these books or listen to them on audiobook in some other way, because I'm not keeping this cover of Lifelike. I hate the Australian covers of Lifelike so much, and I get it. They wanted to appeal to a male and female and all genders audience. Like, I get that, but at the very same time, it looks horrible. I went to an event, an Allen and Unwin event, where it showed all the concept art of Lifelike, what the cover could have been, and they chose this. Me and my friends are all very bitter at the fact that this cover was chosen for Lifelike when the concept art was so much better. In fact, you know what? There are ebook covers that are better for the series than this book cover is. Like, this book cover is so lazy, and the reason why I'm very mad about this book cover is because this is what the arc looked like. And they're like, okay, this is the arc cover, it's special. And then all of a sudden, they published this, and all they really did was foil up the cover. Yeah, so I hate this book cover. I hate the rest of the Australian book covers. I'm not collecting those editions. Do I want to read the rest of the trilogy? Maybe. I kind of accidentally got spoiled for what happens, so I've got to work that out. This is a set that I am going to be selling. That's my Raven Boys set. The only defect that this series has, which I only just found out today, is this rip right here. Camilla was playing around with tape with fairy light. Some tape ended up on the book and it ended up ripping, and yeah, not happy about that at all. And also there's like, I think, a sticker rip here. So yes, the Raven King is a tiny bit ripped up, only on the bottom of the spine and at the back, but the other books are in new condition, and I will be selling these on Facebook Marketplace to any of the Australian people either watching or seeing the ad, and I'm gonna sell this as a set. I'm not gonna break any of my sets, and the reason why I'm not is because I would much prefer not to keep shipping out things, and I'd also prefer to have more money. But the reason why I'm getting rid of the Raven Cycle Quartet is because I've kept it for years. I've kept this book series on my shelf since like 2015, 2016, and I'm done. Because I have tried my best to motivate myself to give this series a second chance. I didn't enjoy it the first time I read it. And so I thought to myself, maybe I'd enjoy it the second time, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing that? I already know what happens at the end. Me and my friends were literally talking about it at a party that we went to. We're like, oh yeah, why bother reading the Raven Boys when this is the end? And I just thinking to myself, yeah, I should finally unhold them. It was at the birthday party when we were talking about how like dodgy the ending of the Raven Boys was. They are beautiful hardbacks. They are probably the most beautiful books on my shelf, but I have to get rid of them. I'm also thinking about selling my Darkest Minds series by Alexandra Bracken. I don't hate this series. I grew up reading this series. I mean, I think I read this back in like 2016. I did enjoy the series, but I think after watching the movie, I realized that I outgrown the series. I did enjoy rereading The Darkest Minds, but I really do think it's time to move on from the series, even though maybe I want to revisit it one day. Maybe I might just like listen to them on audiobook or just reread them at the library or something like that. But the series did bring a lot of sentimental memories to me, but at the end of the day, I don't really see myself wanting to keep them. Somehow I ended up with a second copy of The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin, and yeah, I enjoyed the series, but I don't really need a second copy of like the same edition of the third book. Getting rid of it. Once again, I was talking about comic book books, or books that were based on comic books, and I'm going to be saying goodbye to The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, Squirrel Meets World. I love The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl comic. They're amazing, and I think that The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl does suit a middle grade book, but I don't see myself prioritizing this anytime soon, and if I do want to read it, once again, I will find another way of reading it. It's just I've got to clear out space, and it's not a priority. But The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl comic, pure masterpiece. They're a pure masterpiece, and I don't see this being bad. It's just there's no motivation for me to pick it up. Gotta say goodbye to the Fifth Wave trilogy. I did enjoy this trilogy, and in fact, I enjoyed the second books more than I enjoyed the Fifth Wave. Unpopular opinion, but it is true. But I don't see myself rereading these books at all. I think they were good while they lasted. There was a very annoying character. It was the little brother Sam. He annoyed me so much while reading the books. Everything else was like, okay. The characters were cool. I enjoyed the movie. I kind of liked the movie. I think the movie was okay. I literally don't even remember too much about the book series, but what I do know is that you can't really have a big emotional attachment to the characters, especially after the last arc. Another series that I do not have a sentimental attachment to that I've got to get rid of is Empress of a Thousand Skies by Rhoda Bellezza, and also its sequel, Blood of a Thousand Stars. I just thought this was okay. I think I had to read this for the Biblioscope Book Club. I had to read it for one of our live shows. I just found it to be okay. It wasn't great at all. I mean, I loved that this had some really cool diverse representation, but I didn't really enjoy it that much. Maybe it could have been expanded upon, maybe it could have been longer, but it was just okay. And then I have some Lynette Eason books, which I purchased at my workplace, and I'm never gonna read them. There's 3 books out of the 4 books of the Elite Guardian series. I don't really care for these at all. I purchased these because they were a discounted shrink-wrapped pack, and that was it. And I have no interest in picking this series up at all because I think it's also crime. It's not my thing. The 2 novella collection, Bane Chronicles and the Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, I'm getting rid of these paperbacks purely because I have the hardbacks now, so I don't need these really tall, ugly paperbacks anymore. If books are gonna be tall, I prefer them to be hardbacks. I'm just saying. I'm also getting rid of my Dark Artifices ones. Yes, so they have the same covers, but like I hate their spines because their spine structure is so different. They have like the Parabatai rune and stuff. Tall paperbacks, once again, not my thing, but I have the hardbacks now, so one less thing to worry about. And I am also getting rid of the Dark Artifices series, and the reason why I am is because once again, I started collecting Cassandra Clare's books in hardback. Another book that I purchased in hardback is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. This copy was sent to me by Hachette Australia, and I'm forever thankful for that, but I wanted it in hardback. Like I mentioned before, tall paperbacks, not necessarily my thing, even though I still own a few every once in a while. I prefer not to get tall paperbacks. I prefer to purchase things in hardback if they're gonna be tall. So I purchased Absolutely Remarkable Thing in UK hardback. Land by David Arnold, I am going to get rid of. Once again, it's a contemporary that I like. I just don't see myself rereading it anytime soon. And if I want to reread it, I can do it somewhere else. Just don't really want to keep a copy. A Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I mean, like I read this and I did enjoy it. I loved its themes, its messages, but I probably listen to this one on audiobook if I want to reread it. And also, I didn't really get the most glamorous cover. Like, this is even creepier. You're looking at the synopsis and her eyes are just piercing at you. I want this book out of my sight. About Grace, I enjoyed All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I don't really have any interest in reading this book. I only picked it up because my name is in the title. But I guess it's not really about me, is it? You know what's really funny? I purchased Wicked Fox a few weeks ago. I didn't realize I had the paperback. And this is the Aussie Aussie paperback, which actually has a different title. The title in Australia is actually Gummy-Ho Wicked Fox. The US edition is just Wicked Fox. So yes, you'll see, I think the other one, Vicious Spirits, will be Dokebi. Getting rid of this one because like I prefer them in hardback. But I did enjoy the book. The next book I'm going to be getting rid of is kind of tragic, but I'm going to be getting rid of it because I don't really see myself rereading it anytime soon. I thought that it was a good story. It's not like the greatest story that I read, but I did really enjoy it. And that, my friends, is The Disasters by M.K. England. I did like this one. It's just that once again, I've got to make space on my shelves for other books. And I feel like a little bit bad about that one, but I have to be like less sentimental when it comes to some of my books. I mean, I don't feel too bad about this one because I purchased this one for $2 off of someone else, but I'm going to get rid of this one because I'll probably just read it in some other format. Once again, not really keeping contemporaries on my shelves. Now, my friends, is Moxie by Jennifer Matthew. I did want to read this one, and I still kind of do want to read this one, but once again, freeing up space on my shelf. If the adaptation does ever come out, then I would definitely want to read this one before I watch the adaptation. Genuine Fraud by E. Lockhart. Now, I'm finding it so difficult to get rid of the other E. Lockhart books that I have. Like, I still have the Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks, which I actually did quite enjoy, and then I also have Fly on the Wall, which I haven't actually read yet. So there are a few like E. Lockhart books that I do have, and Genuine Fraud was, I think, the first Allen and Unwin book ever sent to me, and I was really excited about it. And now when I really think about it, Genuine Fraud was just okay. Fascinating the way that it was told, but at the very same time, it wasn't the greatest follow-up to We Were Liars. I know that We Were Liars is a very polarized book in the book community, but I loved We Were Liars, and then Genuine Fraud was just something else. It wasn't necessarily my favorite book by E. Lockhart, and E. Lockhart was going to be one of my favorite authors, at least I thought after We Were Liars, and unfortunately that never really happened. It never really took off for me. Genuine Fraud, unfortunately, I'm getting rid of it. Now, this book I actually attempted to unhaul at one point, and then I changed my mind and I took it back and I realized, no, I've got to unhaul it because I'm now unhauling contemporaries at the moment. And that's Dumplin' by Julie Murphy. And the movie really touched me at a time that I was really going through a lot of struggles, especially with my ED. Like, that was just a hard period of time for me, and Dumplin' really just helped me feel a bit more comfortable in my skin. It was a really hard time for me, but Dumplin' was a very important movie. Dumplin', at the time that I read the book, didn't really resonate with me as much, but at the time that I watched the movie, it really did resonate with me. And I probably want to reread it in the future, but at the moment, I don't see myself rereading it anytime soon. But it is a very meaningful book. I will probably read it or listen to it in another format, or I'll just rewatch the movie. Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Not planning to continue this series. I am kind of sad because this map is so beautiful. I purchased this edition for the map. Simon and Baz also look very beautiful in this cover, and I love the cover illustrator, but I have to say goodbye. I mean, I'm not really attached to Carry On anyway. Like, I just felt like Carry On was an okay book series. I don't think that it's just because of the author. Even if it wasn't Rainbow Rowell, it's just an okay book to me. I don't think I was gonna keep it anyway. I'll do these next two contemporaries together. Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella and To Be Honest by Maggie Ann Martin. Now, this book was very important to me in terms of my ED because it actually helped me discover that I did have one and I needed to get help. That's what this book was about compared to what people thought it was going to be about, so I understand why people did not enjoy this book as much, but it was a very important book to me. It was also very triggering for me. If anybody also struggles in the same way, I do actually recommend that you proceed with this book with caution. Whereas with Finding Audrey, it was one of those books that meant a lot to me in a sense that the main character had anxiety. It made me feel seen when I first read it because it was about a main character who was always in the background and always observed her family's going through like fights and other funny things. And you realize that she's a background character because she's observing everything. And it just reminds me of the times that I've always actually gone through that because I've always kind of been scared to interject and always been scared to put myself in situations. That's why I like this book. And I do still like Finding Audrey, but I've got to say goodbye to it because I'm saying goodbye to some contemporary. This might break the hearts of a lot of contemporary fans, but like, I'll find other ways of reading them if I want to read them again. I'm gonna say goodbye to the paperback edition of Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, and the reason why I'm saying goodbye to it is because I actually have the hardbacks now. I'm not gonna purchase this series in paperback because I don't need to double up on too many series. And the next book that I'm gonna be getting rid of is The Martian by Andy Weir, and the reason why I'm getting rid of it is because I could listen to this one on audiobook. That is what my brother-in-law did, and he loved the experience because the audiobook apparently is like really good. I don't really need to keep a movie cover, a standalone book for that matter. If it, first of all, doesn't really mean too much to me yet, but then second of all, I want to listen to the audiobook. That's the experience that I personally want, and I'm personally intentionally deciding about this book. We've come to the most controversial and the final part of the book haul. I'm getting rid of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and The Crimes of Grindelwald, one of the first editions of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Gryffindor editions of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Finally, this will be very shocking to a lot of people. My complete Harry Potter set. The one I spent $250 on. I know that there are going to be a lot of people in my comments saying you do not have to get rid of Harry Potter. You do not have to get rid of Harry Potter. And some people are gonna, you know, defend JK Rowling and stuff. But here's the thing. I don't have a sentimental attachment to Harry Potter, and I feel like I've been faking it for all these years. I'm gonna be very honest right now. You know, to be accepted on BookTube, I felt like I needed to read Harry Potter and like Harry Potter. I read Harry Potter because so many series were inspired by Harry Potter. Divergent was inspired by Harry Potter. The Hunger Games, I think, was also inspired by Harry Potter. So many book series that I know were inspired by Harry Potter. You can even see Harry Potter influences in the Fred of Glass series. That was the big reason why I wanted to read it. But I also felt pressured to the point that I had to say that it was a very superior series. I read Percy Jackson, I'd say around 6 months before I read Harry Potter, and it was like probably my favorite children's series, and that's the one I feel more sentimentally attached to personally because I read Percy Jackson before I read Harry Potter. But also I grew up in a family where Harry Potter was discriminated against because we grew up in a Christian household. The whole like witchcraft influences and everything were not necessarily that the church I went to condoned for children, so I didn't grow up with Harry Potter. When I was 20 years old, I started reading Harry Potter for the very first time. I really did enjoy it. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire has got to be my favorite Harry Potter book, and it's definitely going to be one of those really cool influential books because it actually did kind of have those influences of like the Hunger Games and so many other dystopian battlefield arena kind of things, you know, the Chosen One tournament. I loved Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, but at the end of the day, I didn't have the greatest sentimental attachment to it. In fact, there are some flaws that I have actually been calling out with Harry Potter, and yes, I think in my favorites of 2016, I do mention that Harry Potter was my favorite series of that year, but the reason why I mention that, when I actually kind of cried even more tears reading Empire of Storms that year, is because if I was to say that Empire of Storms by Sarah J Maas was better than Harry Potter, I would get so many comments from people saying that I'm wrong. Harry Potter had to be the favorite. It's taken JK Rowling being a jerk to everyone for me to have the bravery to even say this. So it's not even just the whole JK Rowling situation where she's just being a jerk. It's also because Harry Potter's not necessarily my favorite series, and I felt like there was so much pressure for it to be my favorite series and for me to talk about it here on BookTube. My friends love Harry Potter. It's their favorite series, and I love that it is their favorite series, but at the end of the day, it wasn't mine. And so me saying goodbye to my Harry Potter books is not really that painful. The only thing that's painful to me about getting rid of these books is the fact that I paid $250 for that beautiful looking box set because the books look so beautiful, you know? I love colorful bookshelves. So when it was my 21st birthday, and when I received a birthday allowance, I had to buy that box set. I'm gonna be selling that box set. I don't know if I can sell it for the same price because honestly, I don't know who wants to buy JK Rowling's books these days, especially after controversy. But yes, I will also speak up about that. No, I do not stand for JK Rowling. I do not agree with what she said. I think that she really needs to get her act together, and maybe she needs to reread her own book series. Maybe she does need to revisit those times where she was talking about acceptance, how important it is to be who you are. I also don't have a sentimental attachment to HP. Also, Fantastic Beasts. I actually did enjoy the movie, but Crimes of Grindelwald was horrible. Like, I wasn't gonna give the movie franchise a second chance. I'm not gonna do that at all. I'm not supporting her with my money. And also, like, I don't care. For people, it is hard to get rid of something that they've grown up with and they've truly appreciated and they have a sentimental attachment to. But I'm gonna be real here. I don't have a sentimental attachment to Harry Potter. There's so many other book series that I have a sentimental attachment to. If Rick Riordan was to do the same thing, it would be harder for me because Percy Jackson means so much more to me and is more sentimental to me. So I understand why people feel the same way about the Wizarding World, but that's not how I feel. So before you guys like say to me, I don't have to get rid of Harry Potter, I want to. I actually prefer to. I don't think I'm going to reread it. I enjoyed it while it lasted, and you know what? The same thing with the rest of these books. A lot of these books, I enjoyed them while they lasted, but I'm saying goodbye to them because I don't need to hold on to these things because I'm not attached to them. So that's the moral of the story. That's the moral of my book Unhaul, and that is the reason why I'm getting rid of JK Rowling's books unapologetically. And this doesn't have to pressure you to get rid of your Harry Potter set because I understand some of you guys still do have that sentimental attachment and it does mean a lot to you. I get that, but this is my personal opinion. A lot of fans are gonna be like really mad at me, including some of my best friends who love the series. It's not the best series in the world. There's so many better series that I've read, but it's what you grew up with, and that's my opinion. I'm gonna leave it at that. Yes, it's gonna be it for this book on hold today, book lovers. I'm pretty sure that some of you guys have left me by the point of this video, so if you are still here, probably leave me a purple heart emoji just so that I know that you guys care. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already joined the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm itsgswizzelbooks on Twitter Twitter and Instagram. And I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.